afternoon. I know that I am between possibly lunch and you. I would make sure that in the next 12 to 15 minutes, I take you through what I am here for. Once again, for those who came possibly late, my name is Peter Jayaseelan. I head Jabra for South Asia and also the public sector education and healthcare for Asia PAC. What I would be doing in the next 10 to 12 minutes is cover a few things, right? One, essentially we talk about what are the technical challenges or tech challenges that faced by the new normal hybrid education. We'll also talk about what are the different types of learning models and how technology can be effective in solving these issues. Now let's talk about typical tech challenges. When Jabra did a survey amongst educators and students, this is what we found, right? We found that 54% of the teachers report that students' attention was an issue. When you do an online, 54% felt that way. 79% of the teachers felt that students' ability to focus was going down. 78% of the teachers or undergrads felt that the online course was not making the impact that should essentially make, or face-to-face teaching would normally make. Added to this issue is that a teacher who was typically meant to possibly impart knowledge suddenly also has to become a tech support engineer, right? Because now you're using technology and trying to teach remotely, we have a problem. So only 19% of the teachers felt that they are trained effectively in managing technology. Otherwise, 87% of the teachers felt that they had to do troubleshooting, right? Either the link is not working, the camera is not proper, most of the times they say, can you hear me, can you see me, and stuff like that. And 71% felt that they were spending less time teaching. It could be just that, if everybody is on the screen, if everybody is able to hear properly, or the link is not good. So essentially a teacher who is imparting knowledge suddenly is also expected to become an IT support engineer, which is not fair in our opinion, right? So what we are beginning to see is that blended learning, as we call, where it is not about studying or teaching from home or teaching from a institution. It is all about blended. You could have a situation where you will teach from home or you will teach from the university normally or in a college. So blended is going to happen, and it is happening all over the world. And even in India, UGC says that 40% of the education needs to be online. So we are moving to that. But one thing that we have seen is, possibly it is changing. Again, a study shows that 64% of the schools do not have a proper IT strategy, and rightly so, right? They are not meant to that. Their strategy was all about how do we get students to gain knowledge, how do we impart education and knowledge to students in a better manner. They really did not look at detail as to how technology needs to be deployed in ensuring a hybrid learning. Obviously, a lot of technology improvements and investments were made by educational institutions also, but not in terms of a hybrid learning environment. So here I would like to focus on what is the learning model, right? Typically people talk about in-person learning and remote learning, right? But there is another thing, there is a typical 2x2 matrix, right, where if you place on one axis time constraint and one is place constraint. Typically this is used in corporate to figure out what part of the job needs to be done in office, what can be done outside, what is time constraint, what is also place constraint. So similarly, if you look at from an education perspective, there is an in-person learning that all of us have been doing for years together. There is remote that we were all pushed to during pandemic, and in many universities, you also had lectures recorded and people are doing it. But there are the other two to be considered, which is synchronous learning and asynchronous learning, right? Not all teaching needs to be done face-to-face, meaning even using technology, right? There are things like homework. There are people who, professors would record lectures and put it up there. So students can access what is required. I've heard many people talking about flip learning, where it's not about just teaching, it's about facilitating. So there you possibly require staff as facilitators who will be interacting with students. So that is asynchronous. That need not be asynchronous learning, right? So in that is synchronous. In an asynchronous environment, homework can be done, access to lecture, access to content can be done. So, it is important for us to not just look at education or teaching in terms of being remote or in terms of being in person. It is also about what is synchronous and what is asynchronous, and accordingly decide which part of your education or which part of the needs of the students are plotted in this, and we make sure that technology covers in person, in remote, synchronous and asynchronous, right. For instance, asynchronous may require a lot of storage, for instance. The way you then impart that knowledge or transmit that knowledge to students all over the place is different, whereas in a face-to-face or in a communication where it needs to be collaborative or where you are facilitating a discussion, you need to be having technology which will ensure that you are audible properly, you are able to be seen properly, your expressions are seen properly, so are you able to see your students. So, I would strongly recommend that you kind of just not look at it in terms of just this being an in-person learning and remote learning. Also look at the activities being synchronous and asynchronous and deploy technology to ensure that this gets covered. Now, having spoken about the typical pain points and what students and educators are feeling and the 4 different types of learning experiences, let us see how technology can improve this or help you in this. So, if you look at just the tech spending, you will see in the last 3 years, humongous increase in technology spending has happened, right. There is almost 37% increase in technology spending, the yellow line and blue line being, there are 2 types of technology. One, you need the platforms, the computers, you also need the audio devices. So, essentially you have seen that the educational institutions have invested and are continuing to invest in technology, and so are the students. All we are trying to say is, tell us to make sure that you invest with a strategy in place, because normally quick fix does not help. Possibly we had to do it when the COVID started because we were all learning, but now is a situation where we know exactly what it is, though it is still evolving. We should be able to do a response as opposed to a reaction in terms of a technology strategy and technology investments. Let us look at this. Typically a teacher does not like to sit. I spoke about it in the inaugural talk, right. A teacher would like to move freely and talk over the dais or across the classroom. Now, how do you capture that in a camera? Typically camera, those of you who know physics and there is something called as a field of view. So, because the lens can only capture a certain field of view and each lenses are different, right. So, typically a lens would capture a 90-degree field of view, can possibly go up to over 100, just over 100. Anything more, the image will look stretched, the image may look like a fishbowl. So, it is, but how do you cover a teacher who is walking up and down and talking and used to talking? Similarly, many institutions, especially for children, you have teachers also using flip charts and sticking it all over the place. How do you cover something like that in an online mode? Right? How do you make sure that normally getting students to focus on the teachers and what the teachers are teaching is very difficult, and in an online environment, if any of this is not complete, if the experience is not immersive, they are not going to be attended. So, getting students' attention is always a challenge. So, again a little bit of statistics, right. So, we are talking about 88% of the teachers rely on inbuilt laptops, laptop cameras, people use mobile phones, 88%, which is a lot to use, right, because that's what you have to do. Quickly you have to move from teaching in college to teaching from home. Similarly, 54% of the teachers find it very difficult to get students' attention, and the worst problem, and because of the other 2, is that students also feel that they do not get similar comfort or attention that they were getting from teachers before. So, there are issues that needs to be addressed. So, what we do as Jabra, we decided that it is important for us to ensure that, as I said before, for us teaching is an immersive experience, it is an engagement that we have to do between students and teachers, and it does not matter where you are. We want to give an in-person experience for both the teachers and the taught, irrespective of where they are. So, that is our goal and motto, and that is what we went building our solutions to. So, what we have is a typical, you will be able to see some of these devices there. From a video perspective, we have a solution which has actually got 3 cameras mounted on a, it's as good as, you have 2 versions. One is just as big as a a mobile phone, and the other one is a video bar. So we have 3 cameras mounted on a device, on a video device, and what we do is, because with the inbuilt patented algorithm, we stitch all 3 images together. So when you have 3 cameras like this, it covers 180 degrees. If you just step out in the break and see, you could literally, the camera could be here, I could be standing here, and I will be covered. So the entire 180 degrees is covered, and every part of the classroom in the front is covered. So that's what we do, and this technology or the algorithm that we have stitches all 3 images together and gives you one image like that. So it is a very, very immersive experience for somebody who is on the other side. For instance, there is a school called Sarasota County in US in the Silicon Valley, where they deployed something like 2,800 cameras to their teachers. So essentially, it's a small little thing. It's as big as possibly even smaller than a mobile phone with a stand and a speaking unit. So this is something that was given to every teacher. And what happens is, there are times when the COVID cases increased, so everybody were driven from home. The teachers could use that, put it in their house and teach and move around. They would have a flip chart, they would write, and the students were able to see. There were times when they could come to the class and students were away. They could bring the same device, put it on their classroom and teach. There were times where a limited number of students were allowed in the classroom, some were still at home. That was possible. So that is the thing. So that is a small little device that you see there, and then you see one below, which includes the microphone and speakers. It's a typical video bar. I'm not going to get into the individual technology. You could have a look at it and experience it, but essentially we took care of that free movement issue, and we took care of the issue where teachers had to scribble and teach in the classroom. So what we also did was, we also have something called as a whiteboard application. So even without you having actually any part of your house, you could convert it into a whiteboard. Typically what happens is, when you're teaching like this, you have a whiteboard behind, then you can't project what you want to show. So if you want to write, what do? You typically need to have a board or a flip chart. So what you could do is, you could define any part of your classroom or as a flip chart, or even at a home, you could put a flip chart and write. Since we have 3 cameras, that would also be covered. And for the students who are attending the class, they could see you teaching, they could see the presentation, and they could see also what is being written. So that's a fantastic combination of being able to see the presentation, and also being able to see what the teachers write. So we have taken care of this typical pain point from a video perspective, rather than just having a webcam that will focus on the teacher, to actually allowing teachers to move around, to write, and the students are able to see either by just showing a flip chart, and because it's 180 degrees, you could see what you write, or you could have a flip chart presented vertically, and that will still get covered. So that's the technology that we have deployed, and it is going gangbusters, I would say, as people deploy. And the best part is, since it's very small and easy to move, you could quickly do it in the classroom, you could take it home, teach from anywhere. Literally, that's what we are trying to say. As I said, we want to create that experience of in-person learning and teaching, irrespective of where you are. Where you are should not determine how you teach or how you are taught. So one other thing that is important is, many people focus and talk about video. Please remember, audio is as important as video, because if you can't hear what you are talking, you have a problem. So it's very, very important that you make sure that the audio is also good. I always say that any solution is only as good as the weakest link. It's not the best link, right? You could have $1 million solution deployed, but the last mile, if you don't have a proper headset in our case or anything, you're gone, right? How many times you have attended a conference or online conference, and you keep saying, hey, I can't hear you properly, can you repeat? Or the first thing we start sharing is, can you hear me? Oh, no, there is a jitter, all kinds of things, right? You just don't want that to happen. So please remember, audio is as important as video. We in GN, we have been audio engineers for years together. We are a 150-year-old company. So we do a lot of research on audio, and we have a range of devices that make sure that the audio experience is good. Somebody wearing, all of us are not contact center agents are used to and trained to wear headsets through that 8 hours. We are not. Imagine us. Today's world, for me, I work out of home for so many months now, 18 months, and people just fill your calendar. Right? You're literally going from one meeting to the other with a headset. I'm not used to it. So if you don't have a comfortable headset, you have a problem. Again, remember, as I said, we also make medical grade equipment. We understand hearing. Right? We understand hearing as much as speaking. So it's important to protect your ear. So we make sure that we have the right products to ensure that it is comfortable and you're also able to hear properly, and also make sure that your long-term use of an audio device doesn't affect your hearing. Compatibility is another one. Nope. Okay. So this is a range of products. I'm not again going to talk about it. All of them are available outside for you to look at it. Different styles available for you for your comfort. This is the one that I was talking about. In a classroom environment, you could have a coverage in different ways and everything. So you'll get a completely immersive experience for your students. Another one that you would remember is, this is what the world is moving towards, is artificial intelligence, even in a learning environment. So it's important. There are a lot of tools that are available, but for all this, you need a device that will capture video and audio in a good way so that the analysis can be done at the background. Our products themselves have got AI inbuilt. There is a lot of edge processors inbuilt. Another issue that you'll face is each institution will have different kind of UC platforms or learning platforms, and if you invite teachers from abroad, they may have something different. So the solution that you buy, it doesn't matter whom you buy, please ensure that it is compatible with all common solutions. Some of our customers, that is right from Carnegie Mellon to NUS in Singapore to our own IITs, use our products in different ways. We're looking to see how that can be expanded. So in summary, this is where we're talking about education is tech enabled. So we have to, it's not an option now. We got to ensure that we enable technology. We try and personalize it as much as we can. And please remember, equip our educators well so that they may be able to deliver the same experience. Thank you so much. You've been a great audience. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your such empowering words. Sir, we would like to felicitate you with a token of appreciation, and I would like to request Kuar Shekhar Vijendra sir to come upon the stage and please felicitate sir. Okay. Okay. I would like to request Dr. Paran Somani ma'am to please felicitate sir with the token of appreciation. Thank you so much, sir. Also, I would like to request you all to kindly fill in the forms present in front of you and participate in the lucky draw organized by Jabra. They are gifting 5 beautiful headphones specifically designed for educational growth.